I'm wearing my new shirt that I got from Hamilton, the musical. We went and saw the tour, and it says, you can't see the whole thing. I guess I'll stand up, you can see my mic. Young, scrappy, and hungry. I'm not wearing it so I can brag that I went to see Hamilton, even though, humble brag, I went and saw Hamilton last night with my kids. What I really wore this shirt for today was to talk real quick about something that can be a bit of a mind changer when it comes to learning how to hand letter, and that is finding inspiration. Now, we all look on Instagram for inspiration, looking at different lettering accounts, and not gonna lie, and I'm sure some of you have had this happen before, it's real easy to see people on Instagram or Pinterest and their beautiful lettering and all the things that they're doing, to see these things and to feel really bad about yourself, that you're not as good as they are, you're never gonna be, how the hell do they learn how to do that, blah, 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 right? And even sometimes when you go to some people who teach hand lettering and they're so good and you have like a block about even trying because you're worried that anything that you're gonna do is gonna turn out kind of crappy. You're never gonna be as good as the person who's teaching you. And that's a load of bullshit. I'm not minimizing how you're feeling, but ultimately that line of thought is bullshit because it's not about what other people are doing, it's about what you're doing. But that's a different conversation about motivation and being able, and I can make a video about that. If you need me to kick your ass, I will make a video verbally kicking your ass about hating on yourself. Totally willing to do that. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. However, I want to take a few minutes today to talk about where you can find inspiration that is not Instagram or Pinterest, other places that you can look to find lettering, drawing too, but lettering is what we talk about here mostly. So stuff that you can find that will help you try and learn different things and start to understand like what visually pleases you, and different ways of spacing, different ways of layout, different kinds of fonts, different ways to put them together. There are many places besides Instagram and Pinterest for you to find inspiration. So I thought I'd give you a few of them just to get you started. And the first place I want to recommend is your local library. If you have a local library, go check it out. It may not have a lettering section, most libraries that are smaller don't, but they will have an art section. And you can go into the art section and look around, and chances are there will be at least a couple of books on typography. Now, most typography books are built around print, either print or graphic design, where they're talking about how you put fonts together. And for hand lettering, that's not exactly the same thing. However, you can learn from that. You can learn the rules of typography, and then you can break them. But you can learn about that. You can see different ways that different fonts have been put together to create packaging or just visual art. There are graffiti artists who do lettering work, and there's pictures of it out there. And if you go to your library, it's a good jumping off point to find books. Look for, if you're checking in like your online card catalog or whatever, remember for those of you, hashtag old school, for those of you who remember the Dewey Decimal System and the old school like card catalogs. Search things like typography, type design. Those are books that are, lettering will sometimes bring you stuff, but typography will bring you more results. You can also look at bookstores. Again, in their art sections, or if they have a design section, you may find typography books there. Generally speaking, most bookstores won't have an entire section devoted to lettering or typography. You might be surprised. College bookstores generally have some of that resources for their graphic design classes. Japanese bookstores, at least the ones I've been to, the one I go to in Japantown called Kinokuniya, has a pretty nice little like shelf full of lettering and typography resources. You just gotta explore, look around, and get out to an actual bookstore. I love Amazon, but holy shit, dude. Let's support our bookstores so that they don't go away, because there is something magical about wandering in the aisles of books and smelling them and feeling them and being able to browse that way, both bookstores and libraries. Another source of inspiration can be looking at packaging. Graphic designers and artists spend their hours of their life, days of their life, designing a single package, the single can of corn, or the single can of soda, or the wine labels. Wine labels are a beautiful place to look at. If you go to a store that sells wine, look at the labels, because you will find some excellent pieces of artwork, and you'll find some that have like images and then maybe a little type, but then you'll find some that have lettering used as art, and that is amazing to look for. Same with cards. If you go somewhere like Papyrus that sells cards, or a Hallmark store, dig around. You'll find ways that lettering is put together that looks really cool, and it'll give you some inspiration. But absolutely packaging. Look around for different fonts, different styles that are used, just to see and get an idea of something that could look really cool for you. Then another place that you may not have thought about is a music store where they sell either CDs. It'd be even awesome if you can go somewhere that sells old vinyl, because a lot of those old records have really cool artwork on it, and a lot of the time, like especially music from the 60s and the early 70s, have like the interesting looking lettering that just builds like the image that's on the front, but the lettering was just as important as the pictures that were on the front of the album. You gotta dig, but when you dig, you might come across some things that'll give you some like real inspiration. There are a lot of other places that you can look for inspiration. So my suggestion to you would be to keep your eyes open. Look around, and when you see something that is interesting, that you can get inspired for lettering or for art or for whatever, if you can't buy it or take it home with you, take a picture just so that you have that as a reference that you can go and look for. And if you want to try and copy what's on there to get the hang of it, no shame in that game. Just don't try and pass it off as your original work. But you can, like the artist, a lot of the time will copy the masters. They'll copy what they see so that they can get the hang of it before they like go off and just start making their own art. And that's a way that you learn. I know it's a lot of words that I'm spitting at you, but I just want to tell you, it's real important to keep your eyes open and look for inspiration, because that will keep you motivated and it'll keep you practicing every single day, because that's how you get better. It's not looking on Instagram and feeling bad about yourself. It's going out into the world and finding examples and using those to push yourself to try something new. And I believe in you, and I know you can do this. So get out there. That's my challenge for you today. Find something you like, see it, pull some inspiration from it, and use that as a motivation to find the next thing and to continue to find your inspiration. You guys got this. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.